From Lalate headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons Lalate.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LA. Incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. In tonight's recording, we go over the Build Back Better Act name check by the President of the United States overnight. He says all those incredible checks are going out. Then we look at those $80,000 in new stimulus checks going live today. Are you ready to bounce? Purple Hawks, I have the latest money across the board. CR for stimulus gets a new twist overnight. Is it good or bad news? All the latest details unfolding by the minute. Meantime, the CPI number is set to be released later this Friday, now signaling that inflation could go to 8%, but oil prices surging out of control overnight. Will we be in a recession in less than 6 months? All the latest breaking details about what oil prices are doing and how it could impact your wallet at home. Then we'll be looking overseas and what's happening with Vladimir Putin and his invasion of Ukraine. Not a one-week endeavor, potentially several years, and how it's interrupting oil distribution. Meantime, back in the United States, Congress is set to ban U.S. import of Russian oil. Germany says it won't do the same. So what does this mean for us, and how will this potentially bring us into an economic spiral? All the latest details on that, plus wheat not being analyzed by Wall Street, not being analyzed by Congress, and not being analyzed by the White House. But Vladimir Putin, right outside of Odessa, right at the time of this recording, trying to disrupt the wheat industry. Would this bring us into recession faster than an oil shortage? The opportunities across the board, as the White House is trying to pivot with breaking news today to get new oil distributed into U.S. shores and also into our partner allies like Italy. It's good news on the oil front, but is there a solution on the wheat front? The breaking details across the board. Then, big money that viewers continue to get. It's third stimulus. I want to go over that big sums of money and how you can get it as well. One viewer getting thousands of dollars overnight. Are you ready for it? It's big sums of money. And then we'll have a preview of tonight's 1 hour Evenings LA special broadcast. It's at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And now the latest breaking news of why this country could potentially be in a recession in 2023. And we'll see the answer in no less than 6 weeks from now. A preview of that major recording tonight, but first, it's afternoons. And for the shores of Santa Monica, California, let's go to the breaking financial news. It starts right here, right now, with all of your incredible sums of money and those new $80,000 checks. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Oil prices surge overnight as Vladimir Putin's acts of aggression in Ukraine surge as well. All the latest details of what's happening overseas and impacting your wallet at home, and also the humanitarian crisis in Poland. That's coming up later in this recording. But first, we're going to go to your incredible money. The President of the United States saying in a new interview on Sunday that Build Back Better must pass because the oil shortage and the oil crisis erupting in the United States is an economic issue that needs to be redressed, and it's fixed with Build Back Better. Wow. We're going to go over all those incredible checks, plus those new $80,000 of checks going live, CR for stimulus, SS300, and more checks in this recording. But first, let's start with the Build Back Better Act. The Build Back Better Act name checked by the President of the United States last week in the State of the Union address. He said it's going to go live. But even since then, on Sunday, the President of the United States, in a new interview, said the Build Back Better Act must pass because millions of Americans are feeling the pinch at the pump. This is good news because CR for stimulus pays you a lot of money. How much does it pay? Tonight on that 1 hour special broadcast at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Evenings LA, I will go over all those incredible checks, but let's get an overview right now. $15,000 of checks across 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. In that first cluster they got in there, hazard pay for my essential workers. 1 more year of the earned income tax credit. $4,000 of elder care got in there. $3,600 checks for young children, the Pell Grant for college students, $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, and home repairs if you live in a low-income community. It's incredible. That is the first of 3 classes of checks and 3 add-ons in the Build Back Better Act. So what is the first add-on? The first add-on comes from here in the shores of Santa Monica, California, and it got in there via Maxine Waters. It is money for the purchase of your first home. Incredible. Maxine Waters wanted to give you money, and she got it in there. Just a little bit less than $25,000 across the land. Let's turn to the second cluster of checks: home repairs to weatherize your home, and paid leave. The paid leave is a lot, folks. This is upwards of $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. And it is 4 to 6 weeks per year, W-2, 1099. How to get these incredible checks? Tune in to the 5 o'clock Evenings LA special report, 1 hour tonight. And then let's go into the second add-on of checks. $250 billion of them via Bob Casey. This is free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. In that third cluster of checks, we got free internet and seniors checks. Free internet for all checks, farmers checks, independent contractors checks. And then seniors getting lots of checks. On the House side, they got the hearing aid checks and the Medicaid gap fix. On the Senate side, they got dental, vision, and lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, which is par for the course when senators are adding checks to this recon. Among the other checks they vow to add in there are MSC. MSC is a body of additional checks that would be added to the recon that already has upwards of $15,000 to $60,000 of checks already in there. These are sent out from IRS on an automatic basis to adults. And who gets it? The eligibility would be the same as a third stimulus check. The legislators represent the viewership of this channel. Single individuals, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it, double it. And family 4, you get it as well. Tonight on Evenings LA 1 hour special broadcast, we'll go more into these MSE checks. But they're $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months, represent the leadership to the viewership of this channel. It's not taxable, and it's not income. This is among the many checks that will be added to the Build Back Better Act that the president, in a new interview on Sunday, says will get done. Last Tuesday, he addressed the American people during the State of the Union address and says it will get passed. But the opportunity to get a check sooner than that is right in front of us. Last week, on Friday, the President of the United States surprised millions of Americans by announcing a new program that's going live that will have $80,000 of new stimulus checks. It's nationwide, and it's absolutely incredible. It's a new program of checks that go live that you pick up the phone or go to a website and get those incredible checks. And how do you get them? They're coming up later in this video, and you are ready to pounce, Purple Hawks. Stay with me. I'll go over those incredible checks in just a second. CR for Stimulus 1.0. Major update today across the land on this one, and this one is surprising. CR for Stimulus is the opportunity to put a stimulus check in the continuing resolution. It's a budget bill. It funds the federal government. It has inherent deadline, bipartisan support, negotiate amount, inherent forward-looking situation. The current situation is $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds are in there via bipartisan support. House and Senate, Republicans and Democrats, weeks of negotiations. Done, deal, signed, sealed, question mark? It looked like that way just minutes before going on camera. But what's going on? I had told you over a week ago, the President of the United States had reached out to the bipartisan leadership and said, I want a little bit of the money for COVID. And Democrats actually told the White House, no, of the $1.5 trillion, nothing will go for COVID. Then, during the State of the Union address, the president said again, I want a little bit of the money for COVID. And he didn't refer to the CR, but I thought he was referring to the CR. Shortly thereafter, he had the Congressional Budget Office send over a letter to Congress saying, I want a little bit of the money from the CR for COVID. I told you all weekend long I wasn't worried about it because with $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds, there's enough for a $2,000 stimulus check in there. Basically, there's enough money for you, so I wasn't worried about the amount of money the president's asking. Well, this afternoon, I'm a little bit different on my opinion of the situation. Why? Because while it doesn't inherently impede the ability for you to get a $2,000 stimulus check, it may impede the ability to get the CR done by its inherent deadline. Why? Because a new series of reports and interviews out today suggests that even if it's 1 penny for COVID, Republicans will block the CR and not get it done by March this month. Yeah. So let's recap. While there's enough to get a check to you, $2,000 stimulus check, while there's been weeks of negotiations, while this has been solidified, while this has been locked up and sealed and signed and almost ready to be dealed, the president's asking of merely a penny may take it off the track. A new report says that with an inherent deadline just a few days away this week, the deal may fall apart if one penny is in there for COVID. And this is as Senate GOP Whip John Thune says there will be not one vote of GOP support if one penny goes to COVID. Now, let's make very clear. The president also asked a little bit of money for Ukrainian relief. Not anything that would impact your money. That has bipartisan support. That has Republican and Democrat support. It's the issue of asking any penny for COVID. What's Chuck Schumer's situation? In a new comment today, Chuck Schumer says the negotiations are ongoing very well. I'm not happy with that quote either, because the negotiations were done over 2 weeks ago. So CR for stimulus? Boy, folks, got to advocate. Got to pick up the phone and advocate to those legislators. Say, spend the money on us. $2,000 stimulus check, get it out. $6 trillion has been spent on COVID. We don't need to spend another penny for COVID in the CR. You can do it as a different body of legislation. You don't need to put it in the COVID relief bill. What is the part of the equation at issue here? If this holds it up, one penny for COVID, then the CR may not get done this week. It would roll over another 30 days. Yeah, so there we are. The good news is that out of nowhere, last week, the President of the United States launched a brand new program that will pay you $80,000 of new stimulus checks. How do you get it? It's coming up later in this video. And if you remember this channel, you got it in the newsletter last Friday. It's absolutely incredible. Stay tuned. It's coming up in the second half. But the first opportunity to give you other sums of money as well is SS300. We have major breaking news about SS300 today because guess what? You're going to see something brand new on this channel that I don't like to scare you about, but I got to tell you the reality. And the reality is the R word, not reality, not that R word, the word recession. Jay Powell's job is to bring down inflationary rates. And your job is to get Joe Biden to swap out COLA for inflation, to raise your benefits up if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security and railroad benefits and veterans benefits, so you get that SS300 ASAP. But a new series of analytics out today suggests that if oil prices remain at current levels, we could be in a recession next year. And this is not good news. What's going on? Let's go over the details unfolding right now. Joe Biden, when running for president of the United States, promised that he would swap out COLA for inflation as your benchmark when he became president of the United States. Then he incorporated it on his platform as president of the United States at joebiden.com. Then when he came into office, he didn't yet do it. So the advocacy of this channel has been pushing to ensure that he swaps out COLA for inflation. Inflation came in the month of December at 7.5%. I had predicted it would come in that high. Wall Street had undervalued it. The Fed had undervalued it. They said 1% to 2%. I said 8%. So where are the numbers right today? Brand new breaking details you're watching live right now on this afternoon's broadcast is that the Consumer Price Index number, the best gauge of inflation for the month of January 2022, is set to be released Thursday. And new analytics put it at 7.5%. 8% would shock people's socks off their feet. This would mean that inflation has not gone down since last month. The good news for your benefits, because Joe can swap out COLA for inflation right now. And that would tie you into that rate right now. The way that it works is that once your benefits go up based upon any benchmark, they never go down. So if you go up based upon the highest rate of inflation right today, good. Because if inflation goes down later this year, you're locked into a higher rate. Great. But there's another new problem today, and it's not inherently about your benefits, it's about the economy. The situation you're going to see in the second half of this video is that Jay Powell has a brand new problem. A series of new analytics now suggests that if gasoline prices at current levels maintain their same trajectory between now and the month of May, we could be in a recession in 2023. So Jay Powell in the next 2 weeks is about to raise interest rates because inflation is too strong, because the economy is too strong. Inflation, economy too strong, gasoline, economy shrinking, Russia disrupting the economy. And what about that oil embargo that Congress is talking about? Why did that shoot oil prices out of control? Very confusing. You have the White House saying one thing, you have foreign leaders saying another thing. You have the Federal Reserve trying to deal with inflation, bring it back down, but now you have to worry that the economy is shrinking because of recession in oil. How does it get fixed? I'll feature it in the second half of this video. Then we'll be looking back at your wheat prices and why they need to be fixed as well. Great news on the horizon as a new solution for oil consumption could come from Venezuela. The latest details on that in the second half. Then we look at that big $80,000 in new checks. And third stimulus, have you gotten it? Viewers got it overnight. We have a lot of checks for you to get. It's coming up in the second half. We have a big recording, and we have a preview more of what's coming up tonight in that 1 hour Evenings LA special report. You don't want to miss it. It's the #1 most watched show in prime time for financial news. It's tonight at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But I'll see you back in 60 seconds as Afternoons LA continues. First, here's a little bit about the community page. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Late Daily for the excitement of the new LA Late live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LA Late at 9 a.m. Home LA Late returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then Afternoons LA Late at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA Late. And good afternoon, everybody. The continuation of Afternoons LA starts right now. You look at the beautiful coastal town of Odessa, Ukraine, the next target of Vladimir Putin. His advances to Ukraine could impact economic disruption internationally, including the wheat industry. How does it impact your money at home? And how could Vladimir Putin send the United States into recession if he takes Odessa? I'll have the latest details on that in the second half. But first, we'll be also looking at the humanitarian crisis overseas and what's being done to solve that problem. But the bigger issue today is gasoline prices surging out of control. Congress proposing to ban U.S. import of Russian oil. And now the situation going from bad to worse. This is as the Federal Reserve is set to deal with the economy too strong. Is the Federal Reserve coming in too aggressively if the economy is shrinking because of oil and surging energy crises? Very confusing. And I'll analyze the details for you right now in the second half and go over those incredible new $80,000 stimulus checks. Wow, we got a big second half and I'm excited you're here. So with that, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and watch tonight's evening's 1 hour broadcast at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, America's most watched financial show in prime time. The situation for Jay Powell, who's the head of the Federal Reserve, is very problematic at the moment. Why? Let me explain what's going on and why this impacts your money so much importantly. The situation for SS300 is that you want Joe Biden to swap out cola for inflation right today. Inflation is at its highest price point based upon those December numbers. December came at 7.5%. The CPI will be released this Thursday. So where's the CPI tracking right now? And it's looking at about 7.5% as of Friday. Today they're saying maybe it's 8%. So I don't think they're going to be shocked it's going to be 8% anymore if it comes in Friday. That's where that number is. What's Jay Powell going to do? He already announced last week he's going to give a quarter basis point increase for interest rates in the March FOMC meeting. This means he wants to bring down inflation. And then he's going to say he's going to stay at that for now. And if he has to come in higher, he'll come in stronger thereafter. He's watching Vladimir Putin. Here's the problem. Not part of his equation, at least in his comments last week, but certainly part of the thought process, is he coming in too aggressively now based upon the energy crisis? Let me explain the situation for you, because this is very problematic. Jay Powell sees an economy as current levels, very robust with inflation out of control. He needs to bring it down. Then he sees Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine. Then he understands, maybe I want to come in too strong. But then we have an energy crisis. That was not really part of Jay Powell's analysis no less than 2 weeks ago, because this wasn't part of the analysis. It wasn't there 2 weeks ago. So Jay Powell's coming in aggressively or moderately aggressively based upon the events of the last 2 weeks. And then what happens? He tries to shrink inflation, shrink the economy, and then suddenly, whammo, we have an energy crisis. Let me explain the situation very importantly. Joe Biden needs to make that phone call to the Social Security Administrator right now. Swap out COLA for inflation right now. It's 7.5%, 8%. It's tracking that in December. It will track that on Friday with the CPI, I'm predicting. And it's likely to stay at 8% the next month as well, based upon whether the situation gets worse or better in Ukraine. So it's good news for you. Your benefits would go up about $200 a month right now. Then we're not going to drop down to about $400 to 4% at least this December. So that would be about another $100 then. That's SS300. Joe, make the call. If you've been on Twitter or Facebook, I've been trying to start the hashtag campaign. Hashtag Joe, make the call. Make the call, because I'm not inventing the wheel here. He promises during his campaign platform. He promised it on JoeBiden.com, part of his presidential platform. Swap COLA for inflation, because inflation tracks how much it costs to live. Let's be very frank. I've never said this sort of on this channel right now. COLA is a ridiculous benchmark. It doesn't really track anything. Inflation is how much you spend. You go to the market, you go to the gas station. Inflation is what you're spending. You're not spending, your life is not COLA. Your life is inflation. All right, so Joe make the phone call. Now, let's go to the situation that Jay Powell has that's unraveling. And that unraveling situation is that inflation is out of control. Well, guess what? And in times when inflation is out of control, you need some more checks. And the great news is more checks are now available. The President of the United States on Friday announced a series of new $80,000 of stimulus checks. And this is absolutely incredible. If you remember this channel, you got it in the newsletter starting last Friday, and it goes out every evening, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in the newsletter. What is this new round of stimulus? This new round of stimulus is a homeowner's grant. And that homeowner's grant is underwritten by the federal government. Grant meaning you don't have to pay it back, meaning it's free money. Underwritten by the U.S. Department of Treasury, it's major. It's $10 billion of funds. And who administers it? It's administered by your states. So there's not one website to go to. It's administered on a state level. If you're with this channel on day one, this looks exactly like EIDL or PUA or UI, where I told you something's going live in one state, but delayed in another state. So it's a very fluid situation. Some states are going live before other states, and I'm going to be on top of the news with you daily. You're going to apply at a state level. You're not going to apply to one website for all states across the board. And it is available everywhere, except reportedly in New York. How much does it pay? A fortune. It pays upwards of $15,000 to $80,000 per household. The eligibility is the same as a third stimulus check on income levels. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it. The qualifications are for everyone that has a home, whether you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, adult dependents, or more. It covers items that many viewers have asked for coverage for on this channel for nearly 2 years, like property insurance, like home repairs, like insurance, or association fees, utilities, and other items like that. It's a new homeowner's grant, and it's featured in the newsletter. Go into the video right now and become a member. By becoming a member, you get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. via the YouTube alert system and the Lalate alert system. The first few lines of the new membership newsletter, revamped last Friday, features this new homeowner's grant. You want to apply because as soon as it goes live, and it's starting to go live in some states today, the money is incredible. First come, first serve, so get those incredible sums of money. Pounds Purple Hawks, this is your opportunity across the board. I'll feature more about this money in tonight's 1 hour special broadcast of Evenings Lalate in prime time at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Meantime, back in the United States, major untolling and unfolding of a very fluid situation when it turns to oil and gas. This is very problematic, and it's very fluid, and it's very troubling. There's a lot of parts to the story, and I'm going to give you a preview of all the parts from tonight's broadcast of Evenings Lalate. But let me give you an overview of why the situation is very serious economically and why the United States is not dealing with it appropriately. First, let me explain to you what is at stake: your economy. A series of new analytical reports released today suggest that if oil and gas prices in the United States stay at current levels, by the month of May, we will be in recession in 2023. Done. It's that blunt. I have to be with you. If current gas prices at the time of today's recording are maintained through the month of May, we will be in recession in 2023 and will likely stay in a 2-year recession. Where are gas prices right today? Let's go over that. This is how much you pay at the pump, you yourself. AAA is a great benchmark for determining gas prices. They publish it on their website. A week ago, the gas price for regular nationwide unleaded was $3.62. Last Friday, it's $3.83. At the time of this broadcast, which is recorded shortly after sunrise on Monday, March 7th, it's $4 and $4.10 a gallon. So it has gone up 40 cents in 1 week of this channel. It's astronomical. If you're watching this channel yesterday on Sunday, I ran a quote from John Kilduff, who says the national average could get to $4 a gallon next week. It's less than 8 hours since I ran that quote. It's already over $4. This is $4.10 regular nationwide average. This is not, in inexpensive cities like Los Angeles. This is the average. If you remember this channel, I rarely send out a major economic news alert. Last night I did, because it was that troubling. At 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Sunday, March 6th, I sent out an alert that oil prices were surging overnight amid a U.S. ban of Russian oil potentially being considered in the United States. Gasoline, oil prices, and now we're looking at Brent crude, which is a benchmark used internationally. We're looking at an international number. Came in at $130 last night, folks. A week ago on this channel, it was 100. Then it went to 110. Going into last weekend, it was 120. That's why I sent you out an alert last night. It went to 130. This is out of control, folks. Now, why did it surge to 130 last night? Let me tell you why the price of gasoline internationally, not in the United States, internationally, Brent crude, it's called Brent crude, that's the international number. Why did it go to 130 from 120 between Evenings Lalate last night when I went off camera and when I'm relaxing in the middle of the night and said I had to send out an alert? Because why did it go to 130? It went to 130 because traction is gaining in the United States to introduce in Congress a piece of legislation to ban Russian oil. Let me explain to you what this means. It's a moral event. It's not an economic event. The banning of Russian oil in the United States is a moral message. We don't want your oil in our United States. It's not an economic event because the United States only imports about 5% of its oil from Russia. So banning Russian oil has nothing to do with our economy. We don't use much Russian oil. We only use 5% of all consumption is Russian based. So we're banning it for a moral reason because we denounce Vladimir Putin's acts against the Ukrainian people. But yet, even that statement is surging gasoline benchmark internationally from 120 to 130 when the United States doesn't even use that much gasoline in the United States. Now, the reaction to the situation, which is going to be featured in tonight's Evenings Lalate broadcast, is not good. Anthony Blinken, who of course is our Secretary of State, said right before that event which was Congress considering taking up legislation this week that would ban Russian oil in the United States, said we're talking to our allies. The U.S. is talking to our allies to also ban Russian oil. Well, it ain't working. Germany has come out right before the time of this recording, taped on a Monday morning before the afternoon show airs. It says, we're not doing it. We're too dependent on Russian oil. We don't have another opportunity across the board. So Germany says, we will not ban the import of Russian oil. We have to survive as a German economy. We don't have an alternative. Blinken says, we're talking to our European partners and allies to look at a prospect of banning Russian oil to make sure that there's an appropriate supply of oil for world markets. Okay, so what is problematic about Blinken's comments? Blinken's comments are deeply troubling. Why? Featured on this channel the last week, the White House reportedly reached out to Janet Yellen, head of Treasury, back in October of last year. In October of last year, I told you that there was 100,000 Russian troops at the Ukrainian border. I told you before Halloween of 2021 that this would be the major economic issue at hand. I was not alone. Janet Yellen understood it as well. The president said Janet Yellen messaged in October last year, determine what sanctions we could do against Russia, how they don't negatively impact the United States. Good. That's good. And they analyzed oil. They understood that they could ramp up production of oil in West Texas, United States, to pivot. But did the White House do anything else? No. Here's the problem. Our partner countries are dependent upon oil from Russia, not us. And the White House has been good to get partner countries to do things quickly. Remember last year, the White House got Janet Yellen to agree to get countries to do a global minimum corporate tax rate in less than 30 days? It was quick. We got it done. The White House understood that Russian oil could be a major economic issue in 2022 if Russia invaded Ukraine as early as October last year. Has the White House had anything ready to go with this? No. The good news today at the time of this recording, and I got to tell you, I'm not going to mince my words, it's very vague, is that the White House is trying to get Venezuela, as I said to you, that's a solution. Can I put a big sign behind me with fingers pointed at it? Venezuela, get the gasoline from Venezuela. That's a solution. But I mean, the solution has been there for weeks, and there has not been formulated a solution. Venezuela is the major producer of gasoline. It has worked often as our partner. And Iran, while has not been our partner, has been the subject of nuclear settlement agreements with the United States that are looking very promising. If the nuclear settlement agreements reach with Iran, then millions of barrels of Iranian oil are flooded into the markets for U.S. and foreign partner allied consumptions. It solves the Russian oil situation. But that deal's not there with Iran. And the deal with Venezuela is not there. So here's the problem. And the problem which I'm going to feature tonight on 80 Lalate is that the White House talking about a Russian ban of oil for moral purposes is appropriate. But not appropriate is the White House's failure to reach out to West Texas to increase production domestically. This is ridiculous. The White House understands that West Texas could increase production domestically and is waiting for the White House to reach out to West Texas and say, hey, we're ready to increase production. And the White House has not made that phone call. It's been very clear and it's been very well documented on this channel. Increasing production in West Texas domestically would bring down the price of gasoline at home and at least solve the situation domestically. Why is this important? Again, gasoline prices at current levels today of I can't believe I'm even saying these numbers. 130 are not sustainable. I told you a week ago that 110 was not sustainable. 130, here is the bad news, is that if gasoline prices for Brent crude, which is the international benchmark, today as high as 130, stay this way for the next 6 weeks, just 6 weeks to May, we're in recession for 2023. It don't matter what type of stimulus I get you. It don't matter what homeowners assistance I get you. It doesn't matter what third stimulus I get you. If Joe doesn't get the oil barrels released to U.S. viewers and to partner countries, then we go in recession. This is the number one priority the White House needs to have been doing since October of last year. So what's going on? Nancy Pelosi, focusing on the moral issue of Russia, says that she will introduce a new piece of legislation to Congress. And we're empowering the executive branch to ban Russian imports as well. That's fine. That's a moral issue. But then we have our fellow Americans in West Texas that can increase production to bring down the price of gasoline here domestically. This is Americans for Americans. Allow West Texas to increase production to bring down the price of gasoline at the pump here so that our oil prices are stabilized. We cannot sustain $4.10 a gallon nationwide on average today, up 40 cents from a week ago, for more than 6 weeks, or we are into recession, folks. And that is a major problem for Jay Powell, because guess what? Jay Powell is dealing with an economy too strong in the month of December before an energy crisis and before a Vladimir Putin invasion. I got to feel sympathy for Jay Powell, because Jay Powell is dealing with inflation, and then he has Putin to deal with. Now he has to deal with an energy crisis, which he doesn't even know how it's going to play out in the United States, let alone our foreign countries. He has to guess about 3 or 4 permutations I can't even guess upon. I can't tell you that Germany is going to say, we're going to allow Russian oil in our system because we don't have Venezuela oil. I can't. Jay Powell has to guess about Venezuela, has to guess about Germany, has to guess about Russia. He has to guess about 5 different permutations, not just 1 or 2. It's too complicated. And I'm not even to wheat and grain. Tonight on Evenings LA, we'll go over the situation wheat and grain, because this is even more problematic. Why? Wheat and grain could throw us into recession faster than gasoline, and no one's even looking at the situation. Why? Because Vladimir Putin is advancing against Odessa, and Odessa is the major port city of Ukraine. It's also an agrarian community. And wheat disruption is very much an issue right now. At the market, do you see bread going up? Do you see corn going up? Do you see soybeans going up? It's because of Vladimir Putin in the Black Sea. And no one is looking at this economic and input. We know from Wall Street analysts, they're not telling their customers about it. We know that the White House has been asked whether it's done the analysis since October. It has not. It's not even doing the analysis right now. And while everyone understands oil and gas, it's a little bit more complicated when it comes to wheat. Gasoline is bought a month or 2 months ahead of time. It's in a barge. It's shipped to a location. That's a simple equation. But when you look at wheat, it's planted a season ahead of time. It's tilled a season ahead of time. And with men battling the Russian invasion right now, and women, children fleeing, there's no one tending these wheat crops, and could disrupt not just wheat in Ukraine for 1 season, but potentially many seasons to go. Meantime, what's happening overseas with Russia today and across the land? The situation from a human rights standpoint is not getting better by the moment. The situation is very problematic, and it continues to get worse by the moment. As featured on this channel since last week, there was initially supposed to be several corridors in which people, women, and children could flee to a neighboring country like Poland and take safe refuge. Then Russia blocked that safe refuge once, twice, and 3 times. At the time of this recording, it looks like that Russia has now blocked the safe harbor, the safe rescue of women and children to neighboring Poland and Romania no less than 3 times, despite agreements to the same during 3 separate negotiations. Elsewhere in Kiev, tanks are now right outside of the town. A new 17-second clip shows that a residential apartment building was being besieged by a Russian tank minutes before this recording. It's in the district of Irpin, which is really on the edge of Kiev. Shockingly, residents of Kiev are evacuating from the country into the city. Yeah, this is very problematic. So residents of the country areas of Kiev, where the Russian forces are right now, are fleeing into the city of Kiev because they don't have any safety in the country area. So they're rushing into the city. Meantime, in towns like Mariupol, which is in the southeast part of Ukraine, along the Black Sea, very close to Russia, they've not been able to leave safely. On Saturday, Ukrainian authorities said that thousands of citizens were trying to get into these corridors and evacuate and could not. I'll feature it more today on the I Support Ukraine, I Stand With Ukraine broadcast, the home LA broadcast, featured at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and also at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. People are now in their 10th day without water, without electricity, living in shelters packed. They're running out of food. They have no water, they have no heat, and it's a very dire situation. Meantime, the Baltics. The Baltic countries like Latvia and Estonia are the next concern for millions of residents. Why? NATO's worried that Vladimir Putin may now look at those Baltic states as his next target. Anthony Blinken says we're continuing to now include deployment of additional forces, including American forces, to Lithuania, one of the most Baltic states, including F-35 fighters, because the concern is that Putin may next be looking at the Baltic states, which neighbor Russia. I'll have more about those details tonight across the land. For now, Build Back Better Act will get passed, the President of the United States says in a series of new comments. It will include an MSC check, said those senators. CR for stimulus, inherent deadline just a few days away, but should the White House pull back and take out that COVID push? If the White House does, CR gets done. If the White House doesn't, it may roll over another 30 days. Then, SS 300, the operator raises the range of benefits up $300 a month. Good. Inflation is going to come in this Friday and make track at 8%. Good for your SS benefits because you'll be raised up at least $200 a month if Joe makes the phone call. $80,000 in new stimulus checks going out. Featured in tonight's newsletter for members of this channel. Not a member? Become a member. The link's under the video. It goes out 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system and the LA Late alert system. And meantime, third stimulus. Big sums of money to get third stimulus. Have you gotten it? I want you to get those sums of money as well. Where do you get that third stimulus of money? You want to reach out to those different places, and here they are. They are your city hall, your city house authority, your county hall, and your county house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You must reach out to all 6 places. You must put multiple applications on file. Also, do multiple rounds. Viewers are doing rounds sometimes 5 to 12 months. Open that membership newsletter for more to learn the details. And yes, rely on those nonprofits. Those nonprofits pick up those sums of money. In recent days, viewers have gotten, in this latest round of March 2022, 5 months or even longer, upwards of a year of rent, utilities, and more. Again, this is different than that new $80,000 of checks going live across the land. Get this big third stimulus money because there's at least $45,000 that viewers are getting from this channel on a regular basis if they're a member. And learn more about tonight in that special 1-hour broadcast from Santa Monica, California, featuring all the big sums of money at issue and the breaking developing details across the land. It's tonight's evening's LA broadcast, and you don't want to miss it. Again, at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Stay informed, stay focused. Keep your prayers of the families of Ukraine, and especially Odessa, in your hearts and thoughts tonight, as millions of citizens are trying to flee and are not being allowed to because of the events what's unfolding overseas. All the latest humanitarian crisis tonight on Evenings LA. Stay informed, stay focused, stay positive, stay motivated, and stay on top of all these incredible sums of money, as more of them are going live today. It's been a wonderful afternoon, and I send my prayers for the families overseas in Ukraine as they battle those acts of aggression from Vladimir Putin. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA throughout the day.